Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name's Mark. Welcome. Christian, hello. You're joining me today.
Hey, can you hear me? Hey.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're coming in loud and clear, and
That's
I don't like it.
Unfortunate. Yeah, I was hoping to try and claim technical difficulties and just opt out, but
Fuck. Yeah, no, I got Starlink, so no one can claim technical difficulties anymore. We're here, and we also got Jordan locked out of the basement, or let out of the basement, to join us.
No, I'm actually in the basement.
Oh, you got internet down there. Good for you. That's an upgrade. I remember when you just had to spend hours alone down there by yourself with nothing to do.
Well, I leech off the neighbors' internet.
Okay. So I don't even have to pay for it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Nice. Tapped into their sewage line too. Good for you.
I was gonna say there's still no toilet down there though. He's just using a bucket, but
they see me looking through the basement window with those puppy dog eyes.
Would you like internet, poor boy?
Yeah.
Well, that's who we have on today. That's nice. Well, today we're doing a Xenos episode. Strange alien things that will creep you out, eat your soul, or just cause all type of chaos in your life. So it's going to be fun. Never trust the Xenos. Before we get into it, let's just do some quick housekeeping. We got a Discord. You can come join our Discord. On our Discord, we got an exclusive Patreon channel. In there, I don't know what the people talk about. I'm not a Patreon subscriber, so who knows what's
You're not
going on
allowed
there.
in.
You guys, yeah, somebody should go check and verify that place is safe and everything's kosher. But it's probably pretty fun in there, I imagine.
Yeah, and you can also join that Patreon and get access to that channel for as little as $2.50 a month, and you also get an ad-free version of the show, and you can get video version of the show as well.
And if you want to jump in on the live stream, we have a live chat room during the show. All these shows are recorded live, and we allow the peons, the peasants, to hop on and
gaze upon our faces, first of all.
Exactly.
And once they're blessed with that.
Yeah. And you could also be a calling guest at the end of the show if you are a member of the Imperial Tithe. And of course, as always, you can join me for some whiskey and Warhammer. Let's do a little sip for the people who are ears only.
That sounded delicious.
Sounded really enjoyable.
Good. Yeah. It was scrumptious. Let's just say that.
Next time I would like to see a little more on the mustache while you're drinking, but we'll work on it.
Sure.
All right. Well, Christian, before the show, you asked me a question. Do you remember what it was? It involved the topic of tonight's episode.
Are aliens real? And if they touched you, who do you report it to? When the government handles that portfolio.
Yeah, we passed on the appropriate information. We Googled a couple things and we got that issue sorted out. Yeah. No, you asked me, hey, Mark, haven't we done Minor Xenos before? And yeah, we have. At the very beginning of Lorehammer, we're talking years, like probably 7 years ago at this point. Episode 14, 15, and then 17 and 18, I think.
I think I even remember that because I was probably on episodes.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun. Those were always some of my most favorite episodes because we basically just went through and we're like, oh yeah, this Xenos is dead. Oh yeah, this one died to the Great Crusade. Oh yeah, this one got shot up into a sun. We just went through all of them. But when I think about that episode, it was very general. Everyone pretty much got the same limelight, even if there is something like Kroot, where we know a whole bunch of them, or Harad, or Rakghoul, or we know a whole bunch about some minor Xenos, and others we only know a little bit about them. In that episode, it was kind of a catch-all for everything. Where in this episode and the ones to follow, this one we're going to do a little context, just build up our knowledge on Xenos, human relations, trade agreements, mercenaries, just kind of Imperium Xenos interactions. But then we're also going to categorize some Xenos and learn about what Xenos we're going to learn about in the coming episodes, such as the Kroot or the Rakghoul, or I think I have 20 minor Xenos that I found, we'll be able to break down into either its own episode or a shared episode with one or two other Xenos. But it's going to be a lot of fun just going through them and giving them a deeper look, really dissect all the different Xenos of the galaxy, what's underneath all of them, and sees what makes them tick.
I think we should My suggestion, if I could put it in the suggestion box, is we should begin referring to the Xenos the way government propaganda currently refers to Xenos, as non-human intelligence. Okay, NHI. If anyone's
NHI.
yeah, anyone's familiar with that term, that's their new propaganda term. So
I had not heard of that, but yes, no, this episode's all about NHI. Fuck. What was the other one? They were trying to get us to say like underwater and objects for a while. They're all over the place.
yeah.
No, I like the way that the humans categorize Xenos. Basically, it's 4 categories. It's either their favorite categories, extinct, which a lot of Xenos are in. I mean, at that point, you don't really have to care. Then they got major, and they got minor, and then they got who cares, like the Tau, where they're just relevant. So pretty simple. Yeah, so gonna be a fun episode. Like I said, we got a lot to go through. Bunch of different minor Xenos we're going to talk about in the brief little paragraph, just to set up for future episodes. But yeah, I think we could get into it.
Jordan, I thought the government term for aliens was actually undocumented immigrant now. I can make that joke. Okay, anyways.
Hey, I'm an immigrant, you asshole. But I'm documented. I do it the right way.
We're all immigrants, guys. We're all immigrants.
We're all indigenous.
Okay, well
we're a nation of immigrants.
Let's talk about the Xenos immigrants.
Oh, filthy. They are filthy, the Xenos immigrants, for sure. You don't want them around.
Coming from space.
Damn NHIs.
Abducting your cows. All right.
Anal probing you.
That's only on request, Jordan. If that happened to you, it's because you asked for it. All right. Let's get into Xenos, aliens, and strangers. Xenos, a term shrouded in the cold syllables of High Gothic, marks those who are not of man, the stranger, the other, the unclean. Within the vaults of the Adeptus Terra, it is whispered to name the intelligent, malevolent forces that hail from beyond the bounds of Terra's light. Among the stars crawl the Drukhari, the craftworld Eldari, the undying Necrons, the ravenous orcs, the beguiling Tau, and the devouring Tyranids. Yet these are but the most known. Countless other alien horrors linger in the dark between worlds, hostile, ancient, and corrupting, awaiting only the moment to fall upon humanity and unmake what it has built. A lot of people might know this already, but Xenos is actually Greek for stranger. So yeah, it has that whole like connotation of other or unknown, or and I think there's a little connotation of like mistrust, right? Like a stranger rolls into town, you don't know what they're about. Are they here to hurt you? Are they here to do what exactly? So it's interesting that that's a High Gothic term, because High Gothic is often kind of pseudo-Latin, but Xenos is Greek, and that pisses off both Latin and Greek linguists whenever you mix Latin and Greek. But
perfect. No, I think that makes everyone happy, actually. That's everyone getting along, languages mixing, harmony.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. It was funny the other day, because I was working on the episode notes and my wife asked me, she's like, okay, I got to ask you. I hear you say Xenos all the time, but what does it mean? So yeah, that I had to tell her, it just means alien, ultimately. You're going to call almost any alien in the galaxy you see if you're an Imperium soldier, or it just says Xenos. You won't even know what that Xenos is. You probably won't be able to differentiate one from the other, honestly. You're not the most educated. It's just Xenos.
Yeah. To correct myself a little bit too, it means probably more literally foreigner. It's like person that is not from here or away in Greek. But I don't speak Greek, so any natural Greek speaker might also want to correct me on some of that as well. But
this is when I miss James' complaints, where we could just email James.
Complaints. Yeah, and direct your vitriol at him, even though he's not even here.
So when we're talking about Xenos, we can ask ourselves a couple more questions to gain some knowledge. Is all life in the galaxy Xenos, or do you have to have sentience? So in 40K, to be a Xenos, you have to be sentient. A Grox, they're kind of herd cattle lizard creature that they eat. that isn't sentient. So that's just wildlife. That's fauna. And we've done a bunch of like flora and fauna episodes, which are a lot of fun. So when we're talking about Xenos, we are talking about sentient life.
Yeah, that's a distinction that has to be made, I think, across a lot of different IPs, where like they consider intelligent aliens versus, you know, like a Grinx or like a cat-like animal, right? Like animals, essentially. Yeah, that's not what we're referring to when we're going on a crusade to exterminate. Those aliens are more than welcome as food sources and companions.
Yeah. So if like the Imperium rolls up on your doorstep and you guys just like pretty much act like you're in the Stone Age, you might be fine. They might just categorize you not as a Xenos and just as a fauna.
You got to go pre-Stone Age, man. You got to be totally naked and just act like you're gone total feral.
That's funny. Sentience versus fauna. The term Xenos specifically refers to sentient alien life, beings with intelligence, culture, and agency distinct from humanity. This classification is crucial as it separates Xenos from non-sentient alien fauna, which, while often dangerous, do not possess the same level of cognitive function or societal structure. The Imperium of Man views all such species as a threat, not merely for their biological differences, but because of their ability to think, plan, and resist. Whether it be the ancient and calculating sloth, the brutal Rakghoul, the enigmatic Kroot, or it is their sentience, their capacity for willful opposition that earns them designation of Xenos, and the unrelenting hostility of Imperium. Yeah. So like we said, that's pretty good thing to know about. We're not just purging wildlife. You know, they're conservationists ultimately. Not just kidding on that one too. They purge it through industrialization, not through warfare.
Yeah, I was gonna say leveling continents. I don't know if that's counts as being super careful with the environment, but
the other thing we're saying or talking about when we're talking about Xenos is there is a differentiation from abhumans. So in the Imperium of Man, a clear distinction is made between the Xenos and abhumans. Though both deviate from the standard human form, Xenos are entirely alien in origin, non-human, sentient species that evolved independently of mankind, such as the Tyranids or the Tau or the Eldari. They are considered utterly foreign and inherently heretical by Imperial doctrine. Abhumans, on the other hand, are genetic divergent strains of humanity, mutated or adapted over millennia due to their environmental pressures or warp exposure. Despite their differences, abhumans like Ogrins, Ratlings, and Squats are all still classified as human descendant, and in certain cases tolerated and even employed by the Imperium. The key difference lies in origin. Abhumans are twisted branches of humanity, while Xenos are entirely alien trees. So when we go through this episode, there'll be one race that we won't be talking about. Can you guess what it's going to be?
Dwarves.
One Xenos race. Yes. The Votan. We will not be mentioning them in this series.
Yeah, they're definitely abhuman. It should also be noted, though, that even though these other branches of humanity are tolerated, that's the key word, they're not seen exactly as equals. And mutants also are pretty low on the totem pole of the Imperium's levels of tolerance as well. So,
what is like the Imperium's sort of standard for a genetically pure enough human? Because I know lots of human societies sort of splintered off from the Imperium, and then during the Great Crusade they were trying to like reunify all of them, but a lot of those other humans, they became a little bit different just because of all the amount of time that they were sort of separated in their own enclave. So there were slight differences. But is there like a standard for which the Imperium sees you as like not a true human, or is it just by virtue of where you were born?
I don't think it's ever laid out exactly, but any human on Earth today would classify as human, and anyone that follows in that. Not all humans, even though they did, after the humanity kind of like conquered the stars the first time before the Imperium. Like, yes, that's where you get those divergent branches, but not everyone is that divergent. So a good example, the original Cadians had violet eyes. That's not a trait you see in any humans today, they would still be probably close enough, but that mutation would mark them as maybe maybe a degree lower. Then you go to another degree. If you're growing horns and have like hoofed feet, then like you're on the other end of that spectrum where it's like very extreme and very evident. Psychic powers also are weird on that scale because you could look totally normal but be a psyker, and then they'd like classify you as a witch and also hunt you in that capacity as well. And technically, like psychic ability is an extension of that mutation. It's just another human mutation, right? So I don't know if the rules are cut and dry, but I think generally
the Imperium likes to err on the side of genocide. So if ever you have a question, Jordan, of should it live or should it die,
never go wrong with nuking it.
Yeah. Yeah, like, is it bone density? Is it height? Is it literally the genetic? Like, fuck, man, we need to take some geneticist classes together so we can look at the tree and what happens. How much can we change it while still being human?
Yeah, I mean, that question is actually valid too for people who are studying like ancient humanity in real life, right? Like, how?
And man, it's gonna happen in our lifetime. Like, we're all in our mid-30s. Add another 35 years of geneticism onto our modern technology. Fuck, man, it's gonna be a crazy world. There's gonna be people walking around that are actually like lizard people,
like genetic engineering. You're saying?
Yeah. CRISPRing themselves into all types of weird things.
And then are they human or if they splice human with pig DNA, what is it? What are we making here?
Man, very pig.
Man, I always come back to this, like 40K is happening in real life. It just is. like we are making Astartes, we are making psychers, we're doing all of it. The government is definitely doing it. So
man, I keep thinking about that non-verbal documentary.
Oh, the telepathy tapes?
Yeah, man. Psychers right there.
Were you listening? Have you been listening to that?
Yeah, I did start it.
Oh, man.
I'm not very far in, but
a wild ride. A wild ride. But yeah. They're psychers, I'm telling you.
They're God dang, give me my pitchfork, Jordan. There's psychers out there.
All right. Well, let's get into how Xenos interact with humanity. Fear the alien, hate the alien, kill the alien. And that is a quote from the Imperial Infantryman's uplifting primer. I feel quite uplifted. It is whispered.
Very edifying, yes.
It is whispered, not recorded, when mankind first beheld the galaxy's true face, or which crawling intelligence reached out from the dark to greet it. What is certain, etched in haunted fragments of early Imperial lore, is that humanity has struggled against the alien since the long-forgotten dawn of the age of technology. That first stellar ascension, fragile, radiant, drifted into communion with unclean intelligences, perhaps the Eldari, perhaps the Orcs, or entities now lost to time. Few were benign, fewer still could abide humanity's touch. None joined them. No alien ever did. Then came the sundering, the age of strife, a psychic convulsion in the void. Isolation reigned, and into the silence crept the Xenos. Unseen, unknown, and ravenous, they descended on the scattered embers of man's reach. Some, it is true, smiled and bartered. Most simply consumed.
It's kind of a sad story. Like, just imagine if this is actually how this plays out for us as humans, where we don't know right now if there's aliens. We can guess, we can assume, whatever, but then we go out, we finally find it, and they turn out to be violent, and you're like, fuck, that's awful. And you go up to the next one, you're like, you want to trade with us? And you're like, fuck, that one was even worse than the last one. And like every alien you go to, it just is so violent, trying to eat you, lay eggs in your brain, stuff like that.
Anal probe you.
Trying to probe you. That's the only benefit, Jordan.
That's how they talk, you guys. They're just trying to communicate with us. Yeah, there's also a reverse theory too, where we're the violent ones and no Xenos or aliens in real life want to contact us because they're like, they're going to destroy us the minute. Which is a fair assessment. If I looked at the Earth too, I'd be like, those guys are screwed. I want nothing to do with them.
Yeah, I've even in like a modern ufology, this is like kind of a thing where
No, Jordan, ufology is not a thing, but go on.
There's that. Sure it
It's
is.
NHI-ology, Jordan.
Well, whatever it is. But there is always this like perspective. Well, they just see us as like violent primates who need to be enlightened. That's sort of the view of humanity, and I kind of think that's wrong. I think like it isn't a given that any kind of entity that you would meet out in space is going to be benevolent, but that is sort of the assumption, and that premise is baked into a lot of sci-fi.
Star Trek.
Star Trek especially is bad at it, but it's sort of a mixed bag in Star Wars and other properties, but like there is this sort of like almost anti-humanity, and we need like this superior enlightened race to come in and
build our pyramids.
Elevate, build the pyramids.
Big brother us a little bit, yeah.
And I don't know that that's like a good assumption to make. And the one thing I do like about 40K is like these other Xenos, they're brutal, and it's the law of the jungle out there, right? And if you try to extend an olive branch, they might not reciprocate. They probably won't. And then you're going to learn real fast that the Emperor needs to conquer the entire galaxy and bring it to heel so that we can spread the light of mankind.
It would be crazy how quick humans would get on board as a species if all of a sudden we discovered a species like orcs out there. And all of a sudden, Muslims and Christians are like, you want to go crusading in the stars together, side by side?
Yeah.
You would have to. We would have to. But right now, we can fight amongst ourselves like savages.
I was going to say something along those lines. But yeah, I do largely agree that, if we encountered aliens, there would be no reason to suspect that they would be more enlightened than us.
Or that their intentions towards us are good.
Yeah. Are pure benevolent. Yeah, absolutely. That's why you nuke first and ask questions later. We can study them archaeologically after we dig up their bones.
Dinosaurs are still neat, even if you have to use them through fossils.
I'm still like I'd like look for a happy medium between just like all out war the second you see them and just accepting them as our benevolent overlords.
That just means you haven't drunk enough whiskey yet, Jordan. Yeah. Keep at it and
keep hamming them back.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, at the end of this episode, we'll have you launch a nukes at alien on sight.
For long, empty aeons, the human species stood at the edge of obliteration, gnawed upon by many mouths. Then rose the Emperor, brilliant, terrible, and he brought with him fire and unity. The Great Crusade began. The prey would become the predator. The Emperor knew what others dared not, and only through ruthlessness, cohesion, he bought with oceans of blood, could mankind endure the galaxy's abyssal hunger. And so was born the Imperium, with extermination as its creed. Species by species, the alien was purged. Entire civilizations burned in silence. Even humans who had learned to embrace the alien, like the Interrex or the Diasporex, were annihilated. Their mingled ways deemed profane. A quick sidebar with that. That is an interesting thing that happens with Horus. He encounters a group of humans and aliens that are actually living harmoniously together, and he goes through a bit of like a crisis of faith and the Imperial doctrine. He's like, I know I'm supposed to exterminate them, but they seem to be doing okay.
But they seem happy.
Yeah.
He was actually like on their side, but he was sabotaged and forced to
annihilate them. Yeah,
to annihilate them. So,
but it did show internally that kind of internal conflict of like what we're saying is like, do you nuke first and ask questions later? Like, is this doctrine a hard and fast rule? And then something I was going to mention before that I just remembered was kind of, Jordan, that naive view of the galaxy that you see in a lot of people about like benevolent aliens. That kind of is how the Tau see the universe. They think they can bring everyone under the greater good, right? Oh, this ideal that we preach will actually unify everyone under our banner. But, very quickly they come to realize that orcs are not interested in the greater good, and they never will be, right?
Yeah.
They might get some humans, but overall humans won't be
Yeah,
joining.
like completely incompatible.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
Each other.
And then very slowly they're coming to realize, the galaxy doesn't really care about their little empire and their idealism, which I kind of like.
Yeah, Lupercall in the chat says the Interex, I think it is, the aliens at Erebus stole the Anathane from. That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of a sad story, almost.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have sympathy for the Interex, but
they're filthy Xenos, so no. Your sympathy is misplaced. All right.
I repent.
Parley was a rare indulgence, extended more to errant humans than to the abominations beyond. The Eldari, wise in unknowable ways, were often avoided, not out of mercy, but out of dread. They watched from afar, cloaked in fate and venom. The Imperium's hatred is not born of paranoia alone. The Xenos are legion, and most are monstrous beyond words. With each encounter, hope for peace decays. Even when negotiations is dared, such as with the Diasporex, it ends in slaughter. The alien mind twists all things. This doctrine of loathing has endured for over 10 millennia through betrayal, fire, and rot. Alien cultures rise only to be scourged, regardless of threat or virtue. The machine of hatred grinds on. The Adeptus Ministorum feeds this machine with fire and faith. Its scripture proclaims mankind divine, chosen to rule the stars. The alien is filth, an affront to the sacred order. To spare them is to betray the God Emperor himself. Such fanaticism festers in every soul, even the meek cry for annihilation when the alien shadow grows long. Mercy has no soil in which to take root. Fear blossoms instead, and with it, holy flame. Cruel, yes, but this is not an age of light. It is a time where knowing less is safer, where strength alone defines truth, where every hesitation invites ruin. The Xenos are not just hostile, they are corruptive, insidious, and mirrors of our own darkest hungers. Yet temptation lingers. Even now, some among mankind whisper to the alien. They trade, they ally. A Kroot warband is paid in bone and meat to guard a governor's keep. The Caradocians, mercurial and veiled in lies, are welcomed into the Tolovian cluster. And so, humanity changes. Illicit xenotech flows through the hive markets of the cold trade. The taint spreads. To hire a Dronathi is only a breath from kneeling before the orc, or worse, inviting the whispering dark of the Hrud into the fold. One does not walk among aliens unchanged. One is devoured in spirit or in flesh, or both.
Yeah, there's just so many bad Xenos out there that if you spend time around, they either use your body as a host for their species, they degrade you with like their presence, they poison. It's just all of them seem to be bad.
Or uninterested in you, and you're the bad ones, like the Eldari.
Yeah.
If you're an Eldari fan, they think they're better than
Yeah.
you, just by the same virtue you think you're better than all the other aliens.
I mean, they kind of are, but we'll keep
Oh,
going.
that's debatable. Jordan, you sound like a heretic every time you speak.
It's just one of those nights. I'm just feeling feisty today. All right. Well, let's discuss the tolerated Xenos, the sanctioned Xenos. So this is a quote. Only a madman deals with the alien. Only a fool relies on the alien. Only the dead have trusted the alien. Although the last may be deluded into claiming that they yet live. Quote, end quote. Lord Militant Tarkus Hull in his memoirs, Observations on the Inevitability of War. Who's this guy think he is? Robert Heinlein or something? In the eyes of the Imperium, Xenos are a plague upon the sanctity of humanity. The Imperial Creed, in its divine fury, demands that no human engage with these twisted, unnatural beings except through violence. They are abominations, perversions that stand against the will of the God Emperor, and their very existence is an affront to his divine authority. The moment a Xenos is sighted, it is anathema. There can be no compromise. there can be no hesitation. To even entertain the thought of a peaceful interaction with such entities is to risk the very soul of mankind. The doctrine is clear: extermination or corruption. The Xenos must be purged. From their earliest years, citizens of the Imperium are steeped in a poison of hate and fear. The very air they breathe is thick with the truth of mankind's supposed superiority, a superiority that must be defended at all costs. In the depths of Imperial training, the mind is honed like a blade to see the Xenos nothing but a threat, a cancer upon the galaxy. And thus the legions of Imperial guardsmen march, armed with their lasguns and bayonets, ready to snuff out the alien filth at the slightest provocation. Yet for all their might, few Xenos have ever set foot upon human worlds and survived to tell the tale. For them, peace is a fleeting dream, swiftly shattered by the cold, unyielding hand of Imperial wrath. But the harsh iron rule of the Imperium is not an unyielding fortress of purity. It is a house built upon frailty, upon compromise and uneasy alliances. In the shadowed corners of the galaxy, where the light of the Emperor's gaze falters, there are whispers of strange unions. These alliances with Xenos, shifting, temporary, and born of necessity, are not as rare as the Imperium would have its citizens believe. The cold hands of pragmatism often lead to fleeting moments of cooperation, however begrudging. Whether for trade or survival, such dealings are not unknown, though they remain carefully hidden from the eye of the righteous. For every step towards understanding, there are 10 towards corruption. Yet, the temptation of forbidden knowledge and power festers beneath the surface, twisting even the most faithful. The Inquisition, ever vigilant, seeks to root out these heretical transactions, tracking the illicit, cold trade of Xenos artifacts and technologies. Despite their ceaseless scrutiny, such black markets thrive in the depths of the Imperium, the sickening trade in alien goods impossible to stamp out completely. These transactions are the blood in the veins of the underworld, feeding an insidious corruption that threatens to spread, infecting those too weak or too ambitious to resist its allure. It is a game played in the shadows, where the price is often paid in souls.
I love this like cold trade category of that. If you're trading Xenos tech, you've heard of like the hot market or like, yeah, I don't know, just cold trade. It has a cool ring to it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think we had an episode. I'm trying to remember where it was in. If it was in like the pirate episode, but we've definitely mentioned this cold trade once before. Maybe it was on like the Hive City episode, and the gangers were cold trading. But yeah, fun.
In the darkest corners of the Imperium, where the lines between ally and enemy blur, mercenaries of alien origin are not an unusual sight. They are hired, employed, and discarded as tools, their very existence reduced to expendable currency. A handful of Imperial commanders, corrupted by power or desperation, willingly turn to these alien creatures, seeing them as nothing more than weapons to wield and toss aside when their use is spent. These mercenaries, creatures of untold origin, will fight and die for reasons known only to them, driven by motives that remain as mysterious as the dark forces that birthed them. They are nothing but pawns in a grander game of survival. Amongst the rotting edifice of imperial bureaucracy, the few who walk the line between madness and ambition the rogue traders, hold the keys to a dark and twisted kind of legitimacy. With the power granted by the Emperor, they are free from the chains that bind the rest of mankind, granted the ability to forge alliances with Xenos for trade or even warfare. But even within this grim freedom, there is danger. For the very act of consorting with such abominable beings threatens the very foundation of their authority, a truth known only to those who dare step beyond the veil. They, too, are tainted by the touch of the alien, forever marked by the stain of their alliances. In rare instances, when the need is dire, the Imperium will grudgingly accept the existence of certain Xenos as quote-unquote sanctioned, marked with a brand or tattoo to indicate their temporary status as allies of humanity. These creatures may be tolerated so long as they remain useful. But their existence is as fragile as the hope that holds them in place. Should they fall out of favor or serve no longer, they will be discarded without hesitation, their lives extinguished as easily as any other enemy of mankind. Their mark, a symbol of their forced obedience, is a cruel reminder that even those who walk among the humans are never truly one of them. It is a sign of their impermanence, their corruption, and the fact that they are merely tools to be used and discarded. And yet, the practice of sanctioning Xenos is a dangerous one. It is a path fraught with peril, requiring the right hands to administer the mark and a great deal of secrecy to maintain the illusion of control. The few within the Calixis sector who can grant such a status are as shadowy as the creatures they sanction. Few even acknowledge that such a process exists, and fewer still are willing to perform it. It is a secret held close by those who walk the knife edge between the light of the Emperor and the abyss that awaits just beyond. The mark, when seen, carries with it a deep dread, a warning to those who know the true meaning of the brand. For even in the light of the Emperor, there is no safety from the encroaching darkness of the Xenos. Gotta just keep reminding them they're just a bunch of filthy animals.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We let some Xenos, but not really even them. Ultimately, we're gonna kill them eventually too. Like some people don't even recognize this brand. It's yeah. To be a sanctioned Xenos, yeah, you have to be something very interesting. Maybe you have knowledge that is very important that needs to be passed on, so you get sanctioned for this very brief moment in time. Whole Xenos races getting sanctioned, that I don't think really even happens at all.
I can't see that happening. However, as always, exceptions may exist where maybe they are treated like a slave underclass and like there's not enough manual labor.
Sure.
So they might sanction, or they do like a very particular job, like they can extract a certain resource or something. I could see them getting used, but like definitely not anywhere near like a citizen. Like,
yeah. And I feel like the higher level of technology, then the less likely it is. So like the Imperium comes across a planet that is like, you know, still swinging swords and has no spacefaring tech, but is still sentient. Like, yeah, that's a good sanctioned Xenos. You know, they're never gonna overpower you. You can use them as slave labor. Perfect.
yeah. If they're getting too technologically advanced, or they might manipulate or start, you know, maybe humans will start getting too buddy with them. Well, that's too risky, and then they need to be cast up.
Yeah, and that's ultimately it with every relation with the Xenos, is ultimately they're gonna have to get cashed. Like they're gonna have to be dealt with, whether you enslave them and they're your slaves for 1,000 years. Eventually, they will rise up, and you will have to put them down. So that's just the Imperium way. So there are sanctioned Xenos. There's also military alliances. These do happen with Xenos. Occasionally, beneath the smoke of war and beyond the grasp of imperial dogma, strange coalitions arise. Eldritch warriors from the dying craft worlds have stood side by side with regiments of mankind, not out of friendship, but out of mutual revulsion for greater threats. Horrors such as the Tyranid hive mind, or the archaic tides of orcs, or the abominable demons of the warp. These spectral unions are fleeting, unspoken, and vanish as swiftly as they form. The Gothic War bore witness to one such nightmare of convenience, where the Anlulus, Eldar, and the Imperium joined blades against Abaddon's horde. These alliances are never safe, never pure. They are pacts made in the shadow of annihilation, where even Space Marines have felt the chill of Xenos' breath upon their flanks. Yeah, these kind of alliances that happen, like, yeah, they're not taking it to War Council, getting it signed off, taking it to the High Lords of Terror to get it signed off. Like, these are like moments of convenience type situations.
And desperation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some notable ones that I personally am still not a big fan of. Blood Angels making a pact with Necron, I believe, to fight Tyranids is another one that happens.
Yeah.
You see it most often with the Eldar. A lot of the Dawn of War games, they kind of play into that a bit, where, and there is always that air of like, we know the Eldar are going to betray us. We know the Eldar don't have our best interests in mind, but we're going to, we got a bigger problem here with chaos. So let's deal with that first, and then we'll deal with the Eldar later, if at all.
But once again, we came back to that violence. Like, ultimately, it goes back to you're going to have to deal violence. Just best get it out of the way and nuke them first. Am I right, Jordan? Have I convinced you?
Sorry, I'm convinced. Yeah.
Perfect.
Do it.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
Didn't take much, but yeah.
Did not take much. What else could I have gotten the man to do? Interesting.
See you by the end of the episode.
Yeah, there are other military alliances, like mercenaries exist, but once again, it's like this fleeting relationship, and usually it's the last thing. Like, oh, my planet's being invaded. I need somebody to help. Anybody.
Yeah.
Sell all my treasure for somebody to help.
Yeah, and sometimes the cool thing about using mercenaries is they're getting killed instead of your people. So if you're a planetary governor and you don't want humans to die, well, better outsource the dying to Xenos that we don't care about anyways.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to do it. Like, you're paying money to have two Xenos die, essentially.
Exactly.
Just keep paying our taxes and Xenos keep dying.
Yeah. Let them kill each other.
When desperation darkens the stars, alien blades are drawn for coin, blood, and more exotic currencies. In hidden corners of the Imperial Dominus, governors whose power teeters on collapse turn to the claws of plasma-wrought horrors of mercenary Xenos. The Kroot have tasted human flesh under sanctioned contract. The Carcarichians have stocked battlefields for profit alone. They are monsters hired to slaughter other monsters, and their presence gnaws at the foundation of the Imperial purity. Yet such decisions are not always made in cowardice. Some are made in cold calculation, in whispered chambers where survival outweighs the chains of law. But each coin paid to Xenos mercenary is a rusted nail driven deeper into humanity's soul. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the ideal to be, profiting an alien group, because there is a chance that, okay, they do solve your problem, but now they're the threat, or, you just made them wealthy, and now what, right? You just gave them weapons and know how to use it, and now what? That's kind of a funny lesson during the Enlightenment period, where like you had all these mercenary bands running around, and like that would backfire just as much as it would work out for you. Like, enemies pay your mercenaries more than you, and then they just turn around and start killing your people.
Yeah.
You don't have enough to pay your mercenaries. They get uppity and start killing your people and looting your lands. Like, mercenaries historically have always been kind of a tricky thing to deal with. That's why we have the new, cleaner world of the private military contractor.
You never let them live with you.
It's actually a good.
Don't shit where you eat. Right?
Exactly.
Anyways, let's get into some secret pacts. There are those within the Imperium who gaze too long into alien eyes and see reflections of themselves. Among the veiled orders of the Inquisition, within the timeless palaces of the Navigator dynasties, and across the shadows of forbidden brotherhoods, dark compacts have been woven with the Eldar. These are not alliances, but bargains struck beneath the stars, where knowledge, power, and prophecy exchange hands. The Coven of Isha is whispered among the most heretical circles, its very name a blade to the throat of the imperial truth. These pacts are not made lightly, and the cost is never fully paid. Minds are opened, souls are branded. What seems like cooperation may in truth be an infection.
Yeah, just another kind of example of, the Imperium trying to do something with Xenos. You could keep it secret, keep it in the shadow, but ultimately it's going to result back to violence.
It'll lead to problems at the
It's
very
not,
least, or getting dominated by the Xenos if you don't fight them. So,
yeah,
yeah. One
get tricked by them.
odd exception, which I don't know. Maybe we'll go on a little bit of a tangent here. Obviously, the big Eldar in the room is Yvraine and the resurrection of Rabot Guilliman. That goes into some weird territory. No, it's not a romantic relationship like all the fanboys like to post all over Reddit.
Like fan bitches.
Yeah.
You're thinking that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But there's certainly there's a couple ways that can be cut. As of the way the story is, it looks like they've almost kind of dropped that whole plot line altogether.
Well, they actually got rid of the Yanari altogether completely. Like that's not a faction.
Yeah.
Even
so on the one hand, I doubt they'll ever talk about it again, which isn't a great way to have resolutions to your plots. Even bad plots, at least do something with it, solve it, and then get rid of it. Don't just stop.
Yeah, and especially something like a Primarch, where it's like people are gonna be looking that one up. Forever.
Yeah, exactly. It is not inconsequential what happened as a result of this.
Yeah.
My thoughts are, you can explain it as maybe Yvraine has some ulterior motive that isn't revealed yet to the Imperium, something bad for the Imperium, or something that would benefit the Eldar at the expense of the Imperium, I should say. What that is, we could make it up or whatever, but that's how the Eldar typically work. If they're helping you out as a human, there's usually something else about to happen later on where they are going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
So that's one angle to look at it from. But yeah, it is a weird dynamic because Yvraine seems fine. She does accompany Guilliman quite a bit even after she resurrects him. So not only just the resurrection being a big deal, but you have a whole society that's taught to hate aliens, and now the new ruler of the Imperium is cavorting with an alien all the time. That's gonna lead to tension too. So
yeah, it just wouldn't happen, man.
Yeah, in truth, I just don't see them picking it up again. I think they just killed the plot line and are pretending it kind of happened, but let's not talk about it anymore.
Yeah. Hey, look at this new Primarch.
Yeah, which again is poor execution on their part, but at least it's not an ongoing issue, I should say. But anyways, I digress.
All right, trading and smuggling. The Imperium is riddled with cracks, and through these cracks, the alien seeps. Rogue traders, draped in sanctioned autonomy, barter with the unknowable and return with treasures soaked in corruption. Weapons that hum with unnatural hunger, books that think, devices that unravel the will of men. In the seething depths of hive worlds, the cold trade flows, unseen, seductive, and damning. The elite indulge, feeding their appetites with xenopoisons and relics of unimaginable origin. Death spiders bred by Jacaro, toxins such as Zarthax, and other abominations circulate through the arteries of decaying power. These indulgences are not merely illegal, they are spiritual betrayal, and they reshape humanity with every transaction. Nothing like a little bad juju on some items you get.
Yeah.
I do really maybe it's not so much trading and smuggling, but when the Ordo Xenos sanctifies alien tech, I think is always really cool.
Ooh. Yeah.
You have
or it's not quite like reverse engineering, but
they do something with it for sure. Even if they slap just a purity seal on it and okay, it's legit now. Yeah, the most notable one, of course, is the Necron looking sword that comes in the Death Watch box.
Yeah.
But I've seen some third party ones too that look really cool. There's Tau guns that have been have purity seals wrapped around them, and they're kind of integrated with Imperial tech. There's some really cool things you could do with that mindset. I wonder if it extends as far as sometimes you see Tyrannic War veteran models that might have a cut off Tyranid limb turned into a sword or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if that counts in that regard.
I would imagine you'd still have to get that
Sanctified or something. But
approved. You just make sure it doesn't have disease on it at the very least. What is this thing carrying here?
Yeah, exactly. But just a lot of room for cool conversions and a real cool concept when in the rare instances that it's allowed.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, you're always going to have your individual cases all over the galaxy, while the Imperium holds to specific things overall. Yeah, you always find the nooks and the corners. Not all corruption spreads in crowds. Some begins in the hearts of individuals. Astartes like Gabriel Angelos have exchanged words and perhaps more with the enigmatic Eldar. The Blood Ravens, cloaked in riddles, have danced near alien fire for centuries, their history swallowed in ambiguity and silence. These liaisons are never public, always cloaked in secrecy, and perhaps rightly so, for were the truth to rise, it might consume them. And yet, the allure remains. One conversation, one alliance, one shared vision in the void. That is all it takes to begin to unravel loyalty. And in the end, even the strongest may find themselves unable to recall where the line was that was crossed. Yeah, it would be such an easy thing to try to just start dealing with Xenos to get ahead, but it just won't work well.
Yeah, it never ends well. It's the same idea around chaos too, right? You might think you can master it, you might think it's okay, or you might be starting to get seduced by it, but you never know when you kind of have gone too far, and now you're like, oh crap, now I'm totally consumed.
Yeah, because here's the thing about Xenos, man. They think the exact same thing about you.
Yeah.
They all hate you just as much.
Yeah. Even the reasonable ones like the Eldar. Again, you are beneath them. You are, not worth. If they're engaging with you, you automatically have to be suspect. Be like, what do you want with me? What's your real motivation?
And hopefully they're like, yeah, in 500 years, my great-grandchildren are going to benefit from this. Oh, sweet. Okay, that's fine.
That's far enough away from me that I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care that.
Little do you know they're slaughtering your great-grandchildren.
No! Monkey Pod B. The Imperium does have kind of maybe this isn't a doctrine, but we'll use that word anyways, called the manifold dangers of the alien, where it's basically the different threats the alien has to offer. So these are kind of interesting.
Although the potential threats posed to humanity and the Imperium by alien influences are vast, unfathomable, and constantly shifting, the doctrine of the Ordo Xenos, that most shadowed and secretive of the Inquisition's branches, has long sought to categorize the myriad ways in which the Xenos can inflict devastation upon mankind. These classifications, though simplistic in their form, hint at the ever-present insidious nature of the alien menace that gnaws at the very heart of human existence. The Ordo Xenos has identified 5 broad avenues or methods by which the alien can corrupt, subvert, or annihilate the Imperium. Each of these pathways is a mirror of humanity's greatest fears, each as unfathomable and alien as the species they describe. Yet all are undeniably real, with ancient histories of violence and manipulation stretching back beyond the stars themselves. These are the avenues by which the Xenos bring war, deceit, and damnation to humanity, each more twisted than the last, each an insidious shadow that lingers ever closer to the Imperium's crumbling borders.
All right, the threat of discord. The alien is not merely a beast of flesh and bone, but a force capable of weaving chaos into the very fabric of the Imperium's soul. Through its blasphemous ideologies and perverse ways, it whispers into the hearts of the weak and impressionable, sowing seeds of doubt, envy, and rebellion. Its ideas, so foreign and twisted, are like poison laced with sweet promises, leading mankind down the path of heresy. There are those who, in their hunger for knowledge or power, are drawn into the allure of the alien's corrupting influence. Their minds, once loyal to the Emperor, become the fertile soil for dissent and betrayal. The further from the Emperor's light one ventures, the more insidious the taint becomes. For out there, far from the centers of civilization, the Imperium's doctrines unravel, and the threat of moral contamination grows ever more potent. It is not just a matter of survival, it is the very soul of mankind that hangs in the balance. They kind of view it almost like chaos. Like
Yeah.
Xenos is almost like a physical version, a Materium version of chaos. If
Yeah,
you
it's
will.
just no way for it to be naturally disruptive. Like even just having a marketplace and a Xenos walks by, and you're like, okay, now our marketplace has to accommodate for the Xenos who's actually 8 feet tall, and oh, now there's everything is just a problem with it. It just causes discord.
Yeah, and also the ideological threat too, right? Like you have a unified Imperium, everyone
Sure.
worships the Emperor. To me, the Tau came to mind with this, right? The Tau are there slowly, insidiously preaching, oh, well, have you heard about the greater good, right? Like, even if you allow them in your midst and they're like, hey, no, we're just, peaceful. What's the caste that does trading or whatever? Yeah,
Watercast. Yeah.
they're just a water caste guys coming in to do some diplomatic trading. We're just here to get some goods with you. And then next thing you know, they're talking to like your buddy about like, have you ever heard of our Lord and Savior, the greater good? And then next thing you know, your buddy's arguing with you, and half the town is like,
Yeah, next thing you know, your buddy's he's like telling you about, yo, check out these hooves. Come on, you're gonna like them. Just look at the size of those hooves. Don't you just want to lick those hooves?
well, okay. I think that's more the next threat, Mark, but
Oh,
you want to go that way.
the threat of temptation. The alien is the master of deceit, a serpent in the garden of humanity. It offers its trinkets and baubles, its forbidden knowledge, and its deadly alliances as though they were gifts of salvation. To the weak, the greedy, and those with faltering faith, the temptations are irresistible. The alien's promises are laced with poison, wrapped in the finest of deceitful veils. One cannot simply touch such treasures without feeling the pull of darkness. These gifts, once received, can destroy the heart of a man, turning him into something less than human, a mere vessel for the alien's twisted desires. And then there are the ancient secrets buried in forgotten worlds, hidden beneath the sands of time, waiting for the foolish to unravel them. Yet those who disturb the resting places of these lost civilizations often find themselves cursed, marked by the very technology of knowledge they sought to wield. It is not merely an item they seek, but the destruction that comes with it.
Yeah, I think that's a cool catch-all for anything from, like you're saying, Mark. Maybe there's an alien that has a very nice-looking form that seduces you, and next thing you know, it's laying eggs in your brain, or
Gene stealers.
yeah, or it's a more technological thing, right? Like kind of what Jordan was alluding to, like maybe a very benevolent Xenos race comes down and they're like, we'll give you all the technology to cure cancer, and we'll also completely dominate your civilization and you become our slaves. But you won't have cancer, so it's worth it,
Yeah.
right? Like just
Nice.
yeah,
You want to kill grandma with cancer?
obviously we have to be slaves to these alien overlords. They only have our best interests in mind. But exactly that, right? Like that's how it corrupts you. It tempts you with the promise of something. And maybe it doesn't even do that. Like maybe that's what it looks like at first, and like 10 years later after you sold your soul, joke's on you. You actually got super cancer from it. Like who knows?
Yeah. Fucking super cancer every time.
Super radioactive technology. The threat of corruption. The alien does not only corrupt the mind, it perverts the very flesh and bone of humanity. Its taint, far more insidious than any mere disease, seeps into the body, transforming it, twisting it, and breaking it down into something utterly unrecognizable. The alien breeds parasitism as its core, using humanity as a host to propagate its vile species. Creatures like the lacrimal or the gene stealers infiltrate human society, their parasitic embrace spreading like a virus, turning human against human, brother against brother. The very genetics of mankind become subject to the alien's grotesque will, blending the purity of the human form with its unnatural, twisted essence. The transgenic abomination is the greatest crime against humanity, a perversion that stains the soul, transforming those it touches into monsters. Those who embrace it may be gifted power, but it is a power bought at the cost of their humanity, a cost far steeper than any could ever imagine. So yeah, this one's more in line with like the genetic and the kind of seduction of the flesh, let's say, and the corruption of the
Yeah.
flesh.
It's very like Nephilim too. Like,
Yeah, certainly elements of that.
yeah,
And it does like gene stealer cults are a great example, right? Like each generation, we've done an episode on gene stealer cults, how they morph and change and like enslave ultimately the humans that fall into that.
Yeah.
the threat of dominion. The alien is not content to simply survive. It seeks to dominate, to bend humanity to its will, to crush the spirit of the Imperium beneath its heel. Some creatures possess powers beyond comprehension, psychic or otherwise, capable of manipulating minds, warping reality, and even forcing humans to worship them as false deities. Abominations like the Nostrafex, the Simulacra, and the Cryptos work their insidious influence, playing with human lives as though they were toys, puppets on strings, unaware of their own degradation. These Xenos are not just invaders, they are the corruptors of the mind, rulers in disguise, the NHI coming to take over us. Their subtlety is their strength. They whisper to the weak willed, turning them into willing subjects. And those who resist are left broken, their will shattered, their minds bent to the aliens' insidious desires. Humanity becomes nothing more than cattle, awaiting the slaughter, or worse, worshippers of their alien oppressors.
The Harud or crazy one where they secrete some type of pheromone. Don't quote me on this. We'll learn later in an episode, but they secrete something, I believe, that humans get chemically addicted to. So you want to be around them, but then at the same time, they have this like warp shenanigan phase field that alters time. So you like slowly degrade and crumple in on yourself as you're like addicted to the smell of these Harud. It's a fucking hell of a way to go. That's Dominion. Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Well, Jordan, you're damned for the threat of destruction if that's the way you feel.
I repent. I want to nuke all of the Xenos.
Yes, good boy. The alien is a force of annihilation, a harbinger of doom that seeks only to conquer, to destroy, to obliterate all in its path. Its hunger is insatiable, its lust for destruction boundless. The orcs charge forth in their maddened wog, cutting swaths through the Imperial defenses, leaving naught but ruin in their wake. The Tyranids swarm like locusts, devouring entire worlds to feed their endless hunger. Even the enigmatic Thyrus, their incomprehensible methods of invasion, strike terror into the hearts of all who encounter them. But not all alien threats are so overt. There are predators lurking in the shadows, creatures like the void Carcharodon, whose very presence turns the stars into a hunting ground, or the Zothic blood locusts, vermin so destructive they consume entire ecosystems, leaving nothing but death in their wake. These creatures are not merely dangerous, they are nature's predators, and the only answer to their existence is extermination. The alien is not content with mere survival, it seeks the complete and utter destruction of all that is human. Yeah, man. Just like you want a galactic empire, so do they.
Yeah.
Gotta get rid of them.
Yeah. Or their impulse for destruction is
Kill or be killed.
Yeah. Treason. There are those who have looked into the eyes of the Xenos and seen salvation. In the forgotten reaches of the Ultima Segmentum, Imperial governors have cast off their chains and sworn themselves to alien masters, embracing the crystalline lies of the Tau Empire and its, quote, greater good. This is not merely rebellion, it is apostasy of the highest order, a spiritual defilement, a surrender of the human soul to alien ideology. These leaders do not seek betrayal, they seek clarity. They speak of peace, of unity, of prosperity, and in doing so, they echo the same blasphemies that once doomed entire civilizations. For the Tau do not conquer by war alone, they conquer by belief, and belief, once twisted, cannot be untwisted. The cost of the new belief will be always death.
Oof. Yeah, like if you get to a generation young enough, you get to their thought patterns, you get to all their stuff, man, they could be corrupted forever. They're almost wasted at that point. What do you do with them? What do you do with the children of that world, of a human and Gruvessa world, or human and Tau world? Well, you gotta put them down, unfortunately. Treason in 40k is dead. Now, remember, these aren't our rules. So, like, if me, Jordan, and Christian came up with a cool, fun place to hang out, it wouldn't be 40k. I can tell you that much. But
All right. Well, Xenos and Chaos, the interplay between that, because it does seem they bring a lot of chaos, those filthy Xenos. The relationship between certain alien races and the dark, suffocating influence of chaos is not one that can be easily defined, for it is as varied and enigmatic as the galaxies themselves. Such Xenos, such as the Necrons, exist in a state of complete and terrifying immunity, their ancient forms and soulless mechanized existence, making them impervious to the seductive whispers of the warp. Their very nature shields them from the corrupting embrace of the Chaos Gods, leaving them untouched by the madness that ensnares so many. Then there are those like the Tau, whose resistance to chaos appears to be more of a social construct than any inherent immunity. Their rigid and fanatical devotion to the greater good seems to keep the influences of the warp at bay, creating a semblance of purity that is as much ideological as it is spiritual. However, such a fragile barrier may not withstand the growing tide of chaos for long, and the Tau may one day find themselves gnawing at the edges of their own morality, just as other races have succumbed. Are there any examples of any chaos, like even just individual characters turning to chaos, that I may not be aware of?
like Xenos characters?
No, Tau. I mean Tau characters.
People have been hinting that Farsight is coming more and more chaos, and not even because of his sword that he has, but just becoming more violent, it seems. But I haven't read that book yet, but that seems to be the rumbling on the street about Farsight. It's like Korn specifically is calling to him now.
Okay.
I think there's also I don't know if it's a fan theory or if it was ever official about that Tau who is in that first-person shooter
case.
Yeah, if he's got something chaotic going on with him too, for the same reason he just goes on like a killing spree. It's not something that's been explored that heavily, but I think is also a field that's ripe for some really cool conversion and individual storytelling work. Like Chaos Tau would be so cool. Freaking
I mean, yeah, there's nothing inherently about them that should preclude them from turning to chaos.
It is their lack of warp presence too that kind of is a limiting factor, but I for the same reason, like I don't think they're immune from corruption. It's just their stakes are lower.
Yeah, like if they expanded and became like a larger civilization, they would encounter the concepts of chaos and the writings about chaos and whatnot more, I would imagine, and then they would be just more susceptible to it. I wonder if that's a thing, just because they're kind of such a small civilization that they haven't really.
This is a fun concept. Can you grow your soul size? And how do you do that? Because it seems like maybe humans before their kind of psychic awakening, maybe they didn't have that much of a soul, perhaps, or like that high of a quality one. But who knows? Interesting.
Yeah. I just know Chaos Tau would look really cool as models. I can already picture like Tau with like devil horns, but like he's got the hooves already going on. Maybe grows a little tail.
Yeah.
Or maybe having something like Sith tattoos all over their face. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we did all those Demon Prince episodes of all the different gods and stuff. But all the different Xenos, all the different gods that could happen for sure.
Yeah, just it's a field ripe for fan conversion work.
Yeah.
I do wonder, like, writing, if I were the writer of the Tau and say Games Workshop decides, okay, we're gonna start, the Tau is gonna turn to chaos. I wonder if it would be like a total cataclysm for the society, like, because the Tau are so collectivist that it couldn't just be a faction that turns to chaos, like the whole entire species turns to chaos.
That's where I
And-
would disagree. I don't like the whole race turning. I like a sub-faction turning.
Well, you might like that in terms of like your own personal.
What I like is law,
taste.
Jordan.
No, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to be like consistent with the whole people, like there would to me, I could see, I mean, maybe not all the Tau, but a huge like faction of the
The Farsight
Tau, just
Enclaves show though where that breaks down. Like there is already a splinter group of Tau. They're not so collectivist that they have a hive mind. Like ideologically, yes.
But just imagine though if you had ethereals.
Yeah, so you'd have to topple. That depends on where the corruption comes from. If the corruption comes from the top down, then yes, the whole civilization would shift very easily. But if it's from the bottom up, where let's say some lower level commanders and things turn to chaos, then it would be a different story, and they would be this kind of splinter group. It'd be a lot harder for a chaos earthcaster to try and convince an ethereal to drop the greater good versus a chaos ethereal or council of ethereals suddenly shifting the whole civilization. Again, not my favorite perspective, but there's a way around it where it would just be a splinter group.
But to me, that's where like it would be a sort of maybe a heresy or something, or blasphemy on the greater good. It would be part of the greater good is to turn to chaos or worship the chaos god or whatever, what have you, right? Like that's how you would kind of tie it in.
That's how you achieve it.
Yeah.
Give your soul to chaos.
I prefer them getting controlled by AI personally, but that's another discussion for another episode.
Isn't that like basically already the Necron?
No.
Okay.
Votan will have a little bit of that theme going on too, but
and then in the deepest, darkest corners of the galaxy, there are those alien races that have fallen completely to chaos. The Baal Childer, the Yuvath, the Saruthi, the Grell, and the Xenarchs. All of these wretched beings have been consumed by the foul forces of the warp. Their societies twisted and corrupted beyond recognition. Each one of these races serves as a warning, a testament to the terrible power that chaos can wield. When it finds purchase in the hearts and minds of the aliens, their once proud cultures have crumbled into madness and debauchery, and now they stand as vassals of the chaos gods, their very existence a grotesque reflection of the corruption that has swept through them.
Yeah.
The Lyra are also a good example of a civilization dominated by chaos.
Yeah.
It seems most of those factions tend to get wiped out pretty quick because they're double blasphemous. They're Xenos and they're Chaos Xenos.
Sure. So now we get into the categories of Xenos. In the vast war-torn universe, Xenos species are categorized based on their influence, history, and significance. Extinct Xenos are those who are no longer exist in any meaningful form. Their civilizations lost to time or obliterated in cataclysmic wars, leaving behind only relics and forgotten memories. Major Xenos, on the other hand, are those species that wield considerable power and influence across the galaxy, often possessing advanced technology, vast empires, and dangerous martial prowess. Examples include the Eldar, Tyranids, and Orcs. Minor Xenos are less influential, either confined by isolated regions of the galaxy or existing in smaller numbers with limited technological advancement, such as the Demiurge or the Carve. Finally, irrelevant Xenos are the most inconsequential, typically comprising primitive or isolated species whose existence possess little threat or interest to the greater galactic powers, such as the countless insectoid or fauna-like creatures that may be found on remote worlds. So that's kind of how they categorize it. They do it into those 4 categories. Most Xenos will probably either fall into the extinct or maybe minor. Lots of dead Xenos, so for sure.
Yeah, that is actually a good question of like, where do the numbers lie? Like, obviously the majors should have a significant presence because just on pure quantity, right? There are a lot of orcs and a lot of Tyranids out there. But then is it a question of like influence versus population size? Like maybe you're very populous but not very consequential, or you're not. Like the Eldar is a good example of the reverse, where they're very consequential but maybe not very populous. So
Yeah.
The-
And what's your level of technology? Can you
Right.
travel the galaxy? Can you get around?
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
just in the Stone Age? So, right. Let's start off with our extinct Xenos. Extinct category of Xenos holds a peculiar significance for the Imperium of Man, that is the preferred classification for countless alien species throughout the galaxy. Yes, if we could, we would label them all as extinct. The Imperium, in its endless drive for control and dominance, often labels alien races as extinct or eradicated, whether or not this is true as a means to maintain the illusion of security. Humanity has placed more Xenos in this category than almost any other race, including those that might still lurk in forgotten corners of the galaxy, hidden away from the reach of Imperial purges. The notion of extinction offers comfort to the Imperium, allowing it to present the galaxy as a safer, more orderly place, free from the threat of alien intervention. In truth, many of these extinct species, like the ancient Necrons or the mysterious Eldari, have simply retreated into the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reemerge. The Imperium's labeling of Xenos as extinct serves both as a convenient narrative for its citizens as a means to justify the relentless, often brutal campaigns against any form of alien life that might pose a threat to mankind's supremacy. Really quick thing I also want to throw out too is, and we did kind of mention this, how the Xenos are just as bloodthirsty or just as mistrustful of humanity as well, but they also exterminate each other. Like the Necron, they're not allying themselves with other Xenos races either. The Eldar are like, everyone is beneath the Eldar, and the Orcs will fight with anyone anyways, and the Tyranids will eat anything that they get close to. So this isn't just a one-way street for humanity. The Xenos are also at odds with each other as much as anyone else as well.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. I mean,
It's the laws of
yeah, it's
nature.
all exactly law of the jungle. All right, let's get into the major Xenos races. Though there have been hundreds of sentient species in the galaxy's long history, only a handful have ever managed to build vast interstellar empires beyond their respective homeworlds. Even fewer have ever been powerful enough to rule the galaxy for any length of time. While humanity is the current dominant species of the Milky Way galaxy, it is not the first, and it is constantly challenged from without by rival species who envy its position of power. What distinguishes these races from the myriad of lesser intelligent species is the fact that they are all currently too powerful for the Imperium of Man to exterminate, like so many others.
So there's the line for you, Christian. It's not population, it's not technology, it's can we exterminate them, yes or no? Fuck, we can? Okay, they're major Xenos, fine. The first major Xenos is the Asuryani, also called the Eldar or Craftworld Eldari. By some, are an ancient but dying humanoid race whose technology remains far more advanced than that of the Imperium. The Eldari once possessed a galaxy-spanning empire that exceeded even the Imperium of Man in size and strength. After the fall of the Eldari shattered their civilization, the Eldari were reduced to a refugee population, as a minor race now exists in the world ships known as craft worlds, drifting across the galaxy. These Eldari refer to themselves as Asuryani, the children of Asurian. The Asuryani hold humanity, or the Monkai, as they referred to humans, in disdain, and it was the death of their empire that allowed mankind to rise during the Great Crusade. Yet they also assist the Imperium amongst common foes like Chaos and the Tyranid whenever it suits their own purposes. They're a major one. We don't have to focus too hard along on any of these guys. They're pretty common at this point.
Yeah, they all have their own episodes and everything too that we deep dives,
Yeah.
but we'll just skim through them. The Drukhari, an offshoot of the Eldari race, with its origins before the fall, sometimes inaccurately called the Dark Eldar. The Drukhari differ radically in culture, if not biology, from their Zuriani cousins. Centered around the dark city of Komara, which is located within the ancient labyrinthine dimension of the Webway, the Drukhari are a depraved society characterized by sadistic violence and hedonistic excess, who continue to indulge in the same vices that caused the Eldari Empire's fall. They are sustained by absorbing the psychic suffering of their victims and slaves, who they acquire from all the other intelligent species of the galaxy during raids from the Webway into real space. Humanity often fails to make a distinction between the Asuryani of the craft worlds and the Drukhari, as the two can appear anatomically and technologically identical, though the cultural distance between them is actually vast. Which makes sense. Like, I'm not here to decide what kind of Eldar you are. I just know that you're an Eldar and you need to be dead. So
Yeah. Bolter rounds are indifferent.
do not discriminate. Yeah.
All right. Time for the Necrons. The Necrons are a race so old that even the Eldari would consider them ancient, possessed of technology so advanced they defy the comprehension of the Imperium's best savants. The Necrons have lain dormant deep beneath their tomb worlds for millions of Terran years. They have only begun to reawaken in the last few centuries of the 41st millennium. Robotic and virtually indestructible, Necrons have been emerging from their ancient tomb worlds across the galaxy to slaughter and kill the unsuspecting denizens of the galaxy, determined to reestablish their ancient galactic empire and eliminate all the lesser races that have taken their rightful place. I mean, they're almost kind of like the Imperium, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, just older, better
Yeah.
tech. Get off my lawn. Pretty xenophobic, though. The orcs. Orcs are a hyper-violent species. No, I hate it. I can't do it. You know, other people can. I'm not that guy. I wish I was. I wish I was an accent guy, but I'm not. The orcs are a hyper-violent species of hulking green-skinned humanoids who have existed as long as the Eldari, yet continue to be a powerful force in the galaxy due to their durability of their own biology, if not their civilizations. Universally perceived as crude and savage species by all other intelligent races of the galaxy, this is for the most part an accurate assessment. Often fighting for the sheer sake of the joy they find in violence, the orcs are a constant state of war with other races of the galaxy and themselves. Due to the peculiar adaptability and efficiency of their reproductive spores, orcs may be the only species in the galaxy truly immune to extinction and are more akin to an infestation than a species. You need to like put the whole galaxy in like a gas tent and then gas it
Fumigate. Yeah.
of orc fumigated of orc spores.
Yeah.
It's the only way at this point.
Yes.
I don't. Who's more disgusting, orcs or Tyranids?
Man, orcs, man, they leave a mess. At least the Tyranids clean up when they're done.
Yeah. There's nothing left when the Tyranids are involved.
Yeah. Orcs, there's piles of shit.
Bones, dead bodies everywhere. Just a nightmare to deal with. Tyranids are the species actually a collection of different bioforms, all genetically engineered to serve a specific function by a psychically just-sold hive mind, and are currently present the greatest threat to the Imperium and every other intelligent race in the galaxy. The Tyranid menace comes from the great void beyond the boundaries of galactic space to strip all the life-sustaining planets of the Milky Way galaxy of their precious biomass in a quest to constantly improve and evolve their species towards new heights. Ever evolving and learning to adapt to the tactics of each new foe, no less than 9 Tyranid hive fleets have been identified by the Imperium of Man entering the galaxy. Several of these hive fleets have yet to be destroyed or contained, while others have been shattered through immense expenditure of lives and resources, only to see new hive fleets emerge from the splintered remains of the old. Despite the tremendous military investment already put forward against them, it is feared that all Tyranid incursions thus far have merely been the vanguard of the truly massive swarm that is even now approaching the galaxy. If all projections prove accurate, then the coming threat may prove to be the death blow to the already crumbling and overtaxed Imperium, and may represent a threat to all other life forms in the galaxy.
Yeah, that one's scary because we just don't know how big it is. Like
Yeah.
it's extra galactic. Unlike the Tau Empire, who I don't know how they made it onto the major Xenos list. Maybe because you can't exterminate them and all their minor Xenos races and their ideology, they make it on. But they should be a minor. But they're a major.
I mean, they do have their own models.
Well, fuck, man.
So do Karut.
I got a model of me. Does that make me a major Xenos? Yeah. Anyways,
They're just big enough that the Imperium can't exterminate them in one fell swoop. So
I guess that is the line. Yes, you're right.
So they're a major Xenos now. The Tau are a young race of alien humanoids from the eastern fringe of the galaxy who have created a rapidly expanding interstellar empire with highly advanced technology in only a few Terran centuries. Led by the mysterious ethereal caste, the Tau are compelled by their pseudo-religious philosophy known as the greater good, to expand their borders until they have assimilated and imposed their collectivist ideology upon the entire galaxy. Unique amongst the major intelligent races of the Milky Way, the Tau Empire effectively employs a combination of diplomacy and measured military force to acquire other intelligent species as allies to their cause. Though barely a blip on the galactic map when compared to the vast interstellar territories that encompass the Imperium, the Tau Empire poses a realistic threat to seize the frontier of space away from mankind if something is not done to counter their continued expansion. Even many human worlds of the Imperium have found the greater good an attractive enough philosophy to turn their backs upon the dictates of the God Emperor.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they have just so many people, including humans, that join the greater good. That's really making them difficult. It's an alliance of aliens. The Tau Empire, though initially seen as a relatively minor Xenos faction, is far more formidable due to its unification of various lesser alien species. These minor Xenos, ranging from the Kroot to the Vespid, have been integrated into the Tau collective, contributing their unique abilities and resources to the Empire's growing power. This alliance of diverse species amplifies the Tau's strength, transforming them from a small, isolated civilization into a coordinated force that is capable of challenging much larger and more established powers. The combined might of these Xenos under the Tau's leadership had made the Empire a greater threat than any single species within it, turning what was once insignificant faction into a rising power in the galaxy. And then I did include a couple here that we will probably give an episode, or they'll share an episode maybe. I haven't quite decided what's going to happen to break these down. But these aren't all of them. The Kroot have a huge empire. I think there's probably 25 different Xenos that work for the Tau Empire at this point. That list keeps growing over the years.
Yeah. Also, little known fact, how often in their ideology you can see them wearing little red hats that say "Make the greater good again." So
Make the greater good again.
shit.
This is
Remind
true.
me to make that hat. I want to sell a million bajillion of them. All right, let's get into the first of these subset of aliens, the Galg, or the Gag, as I call them, because I gag when I see. The Galg are aquatic or amphibious Xenos known for their tentacled limbs and adaptability to water-rich environments. Little is known about them, but they are counted among the many minor races allied with the Tau Empire. Man, everything ocean world related is just another field just ripe for the pickings for 40k. The Nikasar. The Nikasar are a highly psychic nomadic race of Xenos who travel through space in elegant solar-sailed ships. Though physically frail, they provide the Tau with powerful navigators and support through their psychic talents.
All right. The Terrelian are a reptilian species nearly wiped out by humanity during past wars, now reduced to wandering mercenaries and survivors. Despite their diminished numbers, they remain a bitter reminder of the Imperium's merciless xenocidal campaigns. Then we have the Vespid, which are an insectoid Xenos with wings and natural armor, known for their agility and effectiveness in hostile environments. Serving as shock troops within the Tau Empire, they rely on special translator helms to stay coordinated with their Tau commanders. So that's some of the major ones, or the Alliance, rather. Alliance of Aliens.
You know, a lot of those aliens could definitely be considered minor Xenos depending on their interaction with the Tau. So I didn't include the Kroot in that list because they're really Tau mercenaries more so than exclusively Tau. But let's get into all the minor Xenos. Not all sentient species are poised to seize the galaxy for themselves. Hundreds have failed to even prevent their own extinction. Despite this, the galaxy continues to offer a great diversity of alien life in a myriad of forms, all struggling to survive and leave their mark in an increasingly hostile and cruel universe. Below is a sample of some of the extinct and still existing minor Xenos species that inhabit the Milky Way galaxy. So when going through this list, yeah, you kind of heard me say it a couple times. I chose stuff that could either have its own episode exclusively or could be shared with no more than 2 other Xenos. And I feel like, yeah, well, I'll break these down later on how these episodes work, and they're not all going to happen back to back, but these ones will all get an episode in some form or another, essentially, is the thought.
Yeah. This is just a quick little summary, just to say that we said it.
Yeah.
The chromes.
Yeah.
The chromes are a metallic insectoid Xenos species encountered by the Imperium in the 32nd millennium. Despite their vast numbers, estimated at 88 billion across 67 worlds, they were not inherently aggressive. Their silvery chitinous armor gave them their name, and they were notably present on the world of Artemantua during the events of the Beast Arises.
And then next up, we have the Demiurge. They're a race of short, semi-humanoid traders and miners allied with the Tau Empire. In truth, they are the kin of the Leagues of Votan, misidentified as a minor Xenos race by both the Tau and humanity. Their expertise in mining and engineering has made them valuable allies, and their advanced technology has influenced Tau weaponry.
The Inulians. The Inulians are a small humanoid Xenos species believed to originate from the halo stars, but occasionally encountered in the Calexis sector. They stand about 1.5 meters tall, with thin bodies, smooth pale yellow skin, and featureless faces. Despite their unassuming appearance, they possess sophisticated technology and known to use advanced weaponry. Yeah, the Thrall. It looks like I accidentally copied and pasted the same entry
Inulians.
here for this guy.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I know the Thrall are typically a Xenos that work with the Tau Empire, and they have ships and stuff. They're very good at spacefaring, so the Tau use them for that.
Yeah. And they're highly psychic and technologically advanced.
But they don't exclusively work for the Tau Empire, it doesn't seem like.
Okay,
so.
kind of like a crude situation going on again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Tim. The Hrud, also known as the Nocturnal Warriors of Hrud, are an ancient and enigmatic Xenos species. They are known to inhabit subterranean environments and possess the ability to manipulate time, accelerating the aging of nearby beings and objects. Their presence is often associated with decay and entropy, making them a significant threat despite their elusive nature.
The Jindari. They are a sentient Xenos species characterized by cunning nomadic and tribal biomechanical hunters. Their unique physiological combines organic and mechanical elements, and they are known for their stealth and adaptability in various environments. Oh man, some of these are going to be so cool to go through. I'm remembering now as I read them.
Yeah.
They're cool.
The Jokero. The Jokero are an intelligent alien species resembling the orange-furred great apes of old Earth, specifically orangutans. Despite lacking a known form of language, they are capable of tremendous feats of technological construction and manipulation, specializing in the development of weapons technology, particularly miniaturized weapons. And there's, I think, a link between the Jokero, or suspected link between Jokero and the old ones, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
The Crave are a dangerous and highly aggressive species of psychically gifted Xenos resembling humanoid Terran bats. They have repeatedly clashed with the forces of the Imperium, using their potent psychic abilities to enslave entire populations for sustenance. So vampires.
Yeah. But vampires also exist in 40K, so
That's true.
Close, but not quite. Then we got my beloved Kroot. The Kroot are a humanoid species of Xenos, often associated with the Tau Empire, evolved from avian creatures on the homeworld of Peck. They are known for their adaptability and serve as mercenaries and scouts within the Tau forces.
I know you set it up so you would read that one.
This whole episode was just for that moment, and yes,
That one, and now it's us.
I did get off, and now I can go.
And he's gone. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of Lorehammer. We'll catch you guys next time. Next up we have the Lacrimal. The Lacrimal are a lesser-known race of aliens with the ability to shapeshift and change their appearance at will. They stow aboard Imperial craft to travel the galaxy, feeding upon the blood of their victims.
More vampires.
More vampires, yeah. And then we have the Loxadal. They are a loathsome species of particularly vile and inhuman intelligent Xenos that resemble slimy-skinned quadrupedal reptiles. They are commonly found as mercenaries in service of blood-pact armies in the Sabat world's regions. Is that like, what is that animal? The quoxoatl or something?
Axolotl.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Sounds
looks like that.
Yeah.
Just with guns.
Yeah.
yeah.
And axolotl are really cute. I definitely want to get one eventually.
Medusae. They are highly empathic parasitic organisms that reside in the Eldari webway. They appear as a collection of brains and spinal cords stacked atop of one another and feed on the dreams and nightmares of sentient beings.
The Megarachnid. The Megarachnids are a race of sentient Xenos resembling giant spiders encountered by the Imperium during the Great Crusade era. They were confined to a single world known as 14020, or Murder, but had previously held a vast empire spanning hundreds of worlds. I wonder if they were exterminated or not.
I checked and it really didn't seem like it, because that whole battle they left because they had to go deal with something else
Yeah.
that happened with the Kinbrich and stuff like that or whatever. So
Yeah, so they just dropped it, never got back to it because then the Horse Heresy kicks off right after.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, so that's why I thought let's leave them on here, because they did have a whole big galaxy spanning empire type thing and they weren't exterminated.
maybe they're around on one or two worlds still too. That's the one
Yeah.
we encountered so far. So.
Yeah, and maybe with like the Kinbrich gone, whatever, guarding them, maybe they were able to leave the planet again. In over 10,000 years, a lot can happen.
And there'll be a problem again in the next codex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe the Megarachnids, they were sort of confined to Murder by the Interax.
Yeah.
It felt like it was a prison planet for them.
Yeah, exactly. They had like some great war with them, and they were, yeah, but they didn't eliminate them, which obviously deeply offended a lot of people within the Imperium. So
Deeply.
all right, the Nakuli. They are a minor alien race about which little is known, described as slender and humanoid. They have long spine scales flowing back from their scalps, white slit eyes, and a hunch-shouldered waddle. Gay.
Gay! Oreti. The Oreti are small, agile xenospecies distinguished by the long forelimbs and a single tail-like hind limb, enabling powerful leaps. They wield energy weapons with belly appendages, though these are inefficient against Space Marine's power armor, but can be deadly to unarmored humans.
The Quarrel. The Quarrel are an advanced insectoid species native to the swarm world of Loquit in the Segmentum Pacificus. Operating under a hive-like structure led by queens, they utilize pheromone-based communication and have clashed with the Eldar, who once abducted one of their swarm queens, igniting hostilities. Those Eldar are always stirring up crap in the galaxy.
And the Iraq Gull, not to be confused with the Rak Ghoul from Star Wars. The Rak Gull are brutal Xenos marauders originating from the Coronus Expanse, known for their savage raids on Imperial vessels. They are feared for their relentless aggression, and the mere mention of their name is considered ominous in the region.
I do mess that up all the time, so note to self, I'll go flog myself at the end of this show. Rack goal.
They are very similarly, like literally Rakul just has a ghoul on the end of it, but they even have the apostrophe in the name too. It's very odd.
And they're also kind of like
they're monsters.
Brutal.
Yeah. They're not super sentient though. They're more like animalistic, but in Star Wars, anyways. Yeah.
The Seleni, also referred to as the Slan, are the ancient reptilian or amphibian species believed to have a connection to the enigmatic Old Ones. Depictions show them adorned in Mesoamerican style war gear. Fun, hinting at once great civilization. Yeah, the Slan. There. Who knows if that's still like actually a canon thing?
Yeah, that would be like old lore. Yeah,
but they have some cool stuff, some cool technology. So I thought, fuck it, let's toss them in.
Yeah. The Sloth. The Sloth are grotesque Xenos composed of intertwined maggot-like worms, exuding a viscous mucus that renders them nearly impervious to harm. They are notorious for their necrotic technology and are considered among the most vile beings in the galaxy.
The Sliff are serpentine Xenos with humanoid upper bodies and multiple arms, often serving as mercenaries or bodyguards in places like Komara. Of course, their strength and combat prowess make them valuable assets, though they are often viewed with suspicion.
They're pretty cool. I like them. They seem similar to the Lear, but they are not. They're distinct.
The Strixus. The Strixus are nomadic Xenos traders known for their untrustworthy nature and grotesque appearance. They established the Rust Palace in the Kronos Expanse and are famous for trading in anything, including forbidden technologies and even flesh.
The Thyrus. The Thyrus are a cephalopodic Xenos who perceive warfare as a theatrical performance, prioritizing spectacle over strategy. Their flamboyant approach to battle makes them unpredictable adversaries. Yeah, I remember we talked about them on an episode a long time ago, and it was pretty funny to learn about how they do battle. Like, they don't even care if they're losing; they just want to have like the most grandiose whatever explosion.
They're the ultimate rule of cool
Yeah.
army.
Umbra. They are an enigmatic beings composed of shadowy matter, capable of manipulating darkness to form deadly weapons. Their true nature remains a mystery, and they are considered highly dangerous due to their unique abilities.
The Viscion are ectothermic Xenos known for their remarkable regenerative abilities. Hailing from a hot, arid world, they adhere to a strict warrior code that honors close combat, shunning ranged weaponry.
Is there any indication of what they look like? I get strong salamander, sentient salamander, dragonkin type vibes.
I could look. I don't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, no, there is kind of art here. If you guys give me one more second, I'll pull that up.
Yeah. I can keep reading while you do that.
I got it here now, at least. So you can kind of see it's very humanoid.
That's
biceps and thighs and all.
Crazy. I really like that, actually. Where's that model from? Is that Alien Bounty?
That I feel like that's from the Inquisition, the larger scale game, that RPG, you know?
Really? I could be. I don't know. I feel like I've seen all those models, and that this thing feels like I've never seen it before.
But maybe it's a conversion too, because this bit right here almost looks like a Tyranid shoulder pad, Tyranid warrior.
True,
but
also it's on Lexicanum. I feel like they wouldn't allow that, but who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
That's what I got for you.
That thing's sick, though. I definitely do an army of those guys. The Uvath. The Uvath are a warp-worshipping Xeno species that established an empire through the corruption of humans and other races. They were ultimately annihilated during the Angevin Crusade, leading to the formation of the Calixus sector. So we can just kindly pop them in the extinct category.
And next up, we got the Zoats. They are a centauroid reptilian Xenos initially created or enslaved by the Tyranids to serve as emissaries. Possessing greater intelligence than typical Tyranid bioforms, they were employed to negotiate with potential targets before assimilation.
Yeah, and there are many more. You know, if you want like the full comprehensive list, go listen definitely to 15, 16, 18, and 19, the Minor Xeno series on Lorehammer. We had so much fun doing that. I remember just howling most of that episode, to be honest. We were just joking about all the different ways to wipe out aliens. It's good times. Yeah. My favorite one was when they ground one up and launched it into a sun. Classic.
As one does. Yes.
Yeah. The final category we got tonight is irrelevant Xenos.
This is the Imperium's second favorite group of Xenos after Exterminated.
Aren't all Xenos irrelevant, though, to the Imperium at the end of the day?
Yes, like they're in that category, but that they can be in multiple categories, like irrelevant and extinct, irrelevant major Xenos.
Irrelevant and major, yes. Yeah. The Imperium is nothing but built on contradictions.
Exactly.
The irrelevant Xenos are the myriad alien species scattered across the galaxy that pose little to no threat to the greater powers of the Imperium or other galactic factions. These creatures, often primitive or isolated, are left largely undisturbed, as they do not have the means to challenge the might of humanity or other major factions. They exist in the shadows of the galaxy, on distant or remote worlds, existing as little more than a footnote in the grand narrative of the Imperium's endless wars. However, every so often, a species that was once considered irrelevant manages to defy expectations and claw its way out of obscurity, such as the Tau. Initially regarded as a minor or inconsequential threat, the Tau Empire rapidly grew in strength, technological prowess, and territorial influence, forcing the Imperium and other galactic powers to reevaluate their classification. The rise of such species serves as a grim reminder that even the most insignificant of Xenos can evolve and transform into formidable forces when left unchecked, shifting their status from irrelevant to major and becoming a potential danger to the galaxy's established order. That's why you just got a nuke on site, man.
Nuke on site.
Yeah.
Every time, all the time. And if you don't have a nuke, what do you have? What can we throw at them?
Whatever is within reach, do that.
Yeah. Whatever's not nailed down, start hucking at Xenos. Yeah. I'm excited for these coming episodes. I love Xenos in 40K. You know, Space Marines are all well and good, but I think all the different little Xenos really give the universe something to purge, you know, something to go out and
A
kill.
little flavor.
Yeah.
Right? The main course is Space Marines, and the Xenos are like the salt you sprinkle on top.
Oh, yes, that's nice.
Yeah.
And pepper is chaos.
Yes. Never want too much.
In the coming episodes, we are going to have some canon stuff and some not canon stuff. I'm going to try to mostly stick to canon when writing this, but some of these races have a little bit, and then they might have a picture, and then based off that picture, I'm going to write a bunch of stuff. Like we just showed a picture of that cool, I forget what we called them, but you know, that picture has a bunch of interesting details that you can't really find. So I'm going to try to keep it mostly canon, but I wouldn't definitely go out and tell people that these are 100%. Don't go to your local GW and spout facts about the upcoming ones.
You're going to get us
you know.
purged.
Yeah, you know, like I said, most of it's going to be good. And I'm usually pretty good at trying to like be clear. Like this is definitely like me just
Going off.
you know, fluffing my own stuff here.
As he
so.
does.
Yeah. And yeah, the number of Xenos in episodes, I'm going to try to do 1 Xenos per episode, but sometimes it's going to be 2. Sometimes it'll be 3. But we got 20 to get through, so it should be fun to break them down that way in the coming episodes. Yeah, that's the end of this episode. You know what? I think let's call her at this point. Friday night, we all have wives. Why not go have fun and not talk about filthy Xenos? There's only so much filthy Xenos you can talk about.
Fair enough. Before we take off, what was your favorite? Or was your least hated?
Oh man, like they're all so good. Maybe the one that I'll talk about is because I'm gonna make use of it, is the Carve or the Crave, maybe. And they're the dangerous and highly aggressive species of psychically gifted Xenos resembling humanoid Terran bats. They have repeatedly clashed with forces of the Imperium using their potent psychic abilities to enslave entire populations for sustenance. All right, so Chaos Unbound, this kind of faction, this concept that I've been working on. You know, I've come up with warbands, I've come up with demons, I've come up with a whole bunch of stuff, but this is a perfect example of demons that kind of use the warp for their own benefit without serving a god. And they stick to that gargoyle bat dark theme that I have. Maybe I'll Google a picture of them while you guys share your favorite.
Okay.
For me, it's got to be the Slanny. I always love references to ancient aliens and reptilians. So,
The Slan. Well, good news, Jordan. They do have models you can use. Just grab some
Excellent.
lizardmen and pop them in 40K.
yeah, basically.
I don't know if you can really tell.
It does look like a bat.
We're getting there. Okay, well, it's got cool armor. Like, it's like almost Dark Eldar styled armor where it's very edgy, very pointy. There's some fun pictures of them. You get the picture. You get the idea.
They look very cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
They even have so they have like two little like almost T-Rex arms, and then they have like their actual arms, and then they have wing arms. So they got arms all over the place, these guys.
Arms on arms. Have you thought about how you would model them?
Yeah, like I said, the Dark Eldar armor is almost the perfect spot to start.
Yeah.
And then you maybe take like the flesh count bat people
Bat
and you do
targets.
some kit bashing of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, is kind of my thought.
Are they called Eldar Scourges? Are they the ones with wings? Because that could be a good base too.
Exactly, yeah. You know, that would be the perfect kind of base. And then you find the right kind of bat head and
Go from there. Yeah.
go from there.
Nice. Well, in that similar vein, I really like the Vescion. I didn't know they had a model, and I was looking at other pictures, and it looks like you're right that they come from the Inquisition scale stuff. So that's very interesting. I'm going to see if I can look at ways to how that can be kit bashed into the smaller scale stuff.
It almost looks like they made a weird orc when you look at that guy. It's like they went and then they kind of changed their mind halfway through and did
like
else.
It started as an orc and they're like, I don't know if that's gonna fly. Well, let's change it up. It looks semi-aquatic almost.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I'm hyped. I love all the minor Xenos. Gonna be fun. Well, that's this episode of Lorehammer. We'll see you guys all next week. If you want to come check out Lorehammer Listen to Lore podcast, it's pretty fun. I read homebrew lore. Have you guys made minor Xenos for your Space Marines to destroy? Let me read about it. Come check out Lorehammer Listen to Lore podcast.
And if you like Star Wars, like we're distinguishing between the Rackools and the Rackools, come check out the Star Lores podcast with Jordan and I, where we talk about everything Star Wars.
Very cool. And special shout out to Lupercall for editing this episode specifically. One soul that has lasted many editing episodes. We haven't quite burnt him out yet.
But we will. Damn it.
We will.
But also, if anyone wants to jump on the editing team, reach out to Mark or myself in the Discord, and we'll get you up to speed if you're interested in that.
Yeah. If you're listening, you might as well work for me for free. You're already listening. All right, everyone. Cool. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all in the next episode of Minor Xenos. Adios.
See ya.